reactive because I realize that if you're not, you're never going to be able to change everything. And I think that this presents an opportunity for change. I think this season that we're in presents that opportunity for change. Now, I look at the opposition. And of course, the questions that I have asked, and I'm sure the questions that others will ask is, why do they think that they can deliver? Why do they think they're different? What's the difference? People crossed over from PGP, this and that and that. Why do they think they're different? And I say that for me, I start from the premise that even from where we are now, change, any kind of change, let's even say there's no opposition, is important. Because the direction that we're heading for now is absolutely chaos. It's absolute chaos. It's absolute chaos. If 20.8 billion, and there are many who will argue that it's not missing. I mean, I'm sure that many will say, oh, they don't even know where it is. Oh, no. But I will persuade you that it is, because I know, I have some good facts. If a country can lose that kind of money, and we are still sort of quibbling about whether or not the guy who said the money is missing is somebody or something, if we're still quibbling about that, then something is seriously wrong. Because by the time we're through, there'll be nothing left. There'll be nothing left as it is. 400,000 barrels of oil is missing every single day. And I've asked myself the question repeatedly. This is not barrels of oil that are carried on people's shoulders and running across. No, it's not. And people say it's pipeline. Some people say, oh, pipeline. No, of course. Anyone who has any kind of knowledge of
oil and gas.
Oil and gas knows that that's just popcorn. There is obviously, officially backed stealing of the oil. That's the reality. 14,000 barrels. Anyone who knows anything about it, a barge takes 14,000 barrels of oil. A barge. And if you take 14,000 barrels of oil, there's a tanker out there. Everybody can see the tanker. The Navy can see the tanker. We are not talking about little ships running around. No. You can't move 400,000 barrels of oil. Little ships, no. The barge, 14,000 barrels of oil go in the barges and load up the tanker, and then they leave. And it's a daily affair. The Navy is there. You know, if the president decided, if he said to even any of the foreign authorities, said to the UK government and the US government, gentlemen, we see your tanker out there regularly, a tanker that's flagged, one of your country's flags. The next time I see a tanker there, I'm going to ask the Air Force to blow it up. The tanker and everyone, nobody will be there anymore. It's as simple as that. Nobody will go there. Why would you go there? Because you are there for commerce, you are not there for war. If you find that it's too dangerous for you, you will leave. But we have a Navy that's not going to do anything. Why would they not do anything? Well, that's quite another matter. So for me, I believe strongly that any kind of change is even important from where we are. But let's even leave that aside. I believe that what the opposition offers, if you leave politicians alone, they will dilly-dally, not do much, because politicians are essentially interested in power. One thing that the UPN in those days did to ensure that everybody was on the same page was to openly say what would be done and to simply state it. If you say we are going to do free education, it's different from saying we are going to do qualitative education. Free education is free education. It can be policed and monitored by the people. If you say we are going to do free healthcare, it can be policed and monitored by the people. If you say it's free, it is free. That's easy to monitor. If you say we are going to do X, if you say we are going to pay farmers for their produce, if we produce a certain type of food crops, government will pay as a world index linked price for your produce. It's very clear to everybody. There's nothing funny about it. They're not going to say we're going to be innovative and creative about agriculture. No. There will be specific issues, specific things. That way, it's difficult for anybody to dance away from it. And that, for me, is the agreement that I believe that the leadership of the opposition have reached. That, okay, on the issue of corruption, these are the things we are going to do. Very clear, very straightforward. It's not we are going to fight corruption. No. One of the principal members of the party insisted that if you have that, he couldn't accept a situation where you just be general. Said, if you have wealth that is unexplained, You've been in public office, your wealth is unexplained. You are the one who has to explain to the courts. Nobody, I mean, of course, for lawyers, you know that the onus of proof is on, the burden of proof is on the accuser. And that's one of the reasons why it's difficult to prove corruption. If you find $5 million US in my account, and you can't explain, and I keep telling you that I was blessed by, and you can't show how I became blessed or how I stole the money, then you can't prove anything. But if the onus is on me to prove, then I have a duty to now come out and say, well, this is how this blessing came about. And those kinds of specific things. So for me, I think that what it is that while politicians, it's difficult to hold politicians to account. I think that one of the things that the opposition has done is to be very clear and specific as to what it wants to do and how it wants to do it. And because it is clear and specific, I mean, there are some who have said the agenda is socialist, it's left of center. Yes, it is. It is left of center. And I believe that unless you intervene in this country's poverty at the moment, we may not have a country left. I mean, you can talk about jobs. You can say, for instance, you can say, well, when we create industry, or when we allow industries to thrive, an enabling environment for industry, we'll get jobs. Yes, but we need direct intervention today. You cannot have 110 million people in extreme poverty, and you're saying until you create industry before jobs come. It's impossible. The guy in Osun State, Tarek Beshola, declares 20,000 jobs, mainly because he wants to empower people, because he wants people to earn some money for a start. And that's how to deal with poverty. All the models that have succeeded have involved direct cash transfers to people. All the models, the Brazilian model, the Indian model, the models have succeeded where there's large-scale poverty. You can't sit around and say we're waiting for industry. It's just not going to work. You must start by empowering people. That's why one of the policies of the UK, we say it's the first in Africa, the social security scheme. But the most important aspect of that social security scheme is to give between 5,000 and 7,000 naira to the 25 million poorest people in Nigeria on a monthly basis. Now, there are all sorts of issues around that. And the question, how do you identify the 25 million? There are also, enumeration, all of that. Those 25 million people, of course, must show that they are, those who are going to earn up to 7,000 must show that their children are in school, enrolled in school, and that they are participating in immunization. Because the whole idea of this conditional cash transfer is to ensure that there's a health aspect of it, that people are participating in immunization and that their children are enrolled in school. So that they get the 5,000 to 7,000 naira, which is a minimal amount of money. But for people living in conditions of extreme poverty, that is quite a lot. The whole idea is to energize, to get people to begin to do petty things so that you can take them out of poverty, so you can take people out of extreme poverty. And hopefully, with education, with health care, with immunization, and all of that, we'll be able to develop a generation of people who are not so poor and who are not so unhealthy, as we have in the current situation. There's, of course, I don't know whether you've seen the APC roadmap. I don't know whether you've seen it, so I don't run through all of it. But if you've seen the APC, if you haven't seen it, then we'll send to you, but I'm just picking here and there. But the whole point is that there are specific issues. Yemi says there's a video that just highlights some of the points. But the whole point is that we're dealing with specific issues, very specific. And we want to be able to hold the leadership to account. Now, who's going to hold the leadership to account? Many times I have the same kinds of problems that people have expressed with politicians. I've worked with politicians all the time. I worked with them in the previous job. I still work with them now. Many are committed. Very, very many are looking for power just for power's sake. But the major thing that we want to do, and that we ought to do, is to be able to hold politicians to account. That's the major thing. If we find a critical mass of people who are able to say, these things that you say you stand for, we're going to hold you to account. If we have a critical mass, we can change things. We can change things even within any space. We can change things if we're able to hold people to account. But the easiest way to hold people to account is to say, well, this is what you have said is your policy, and it is clear policy. You say we are going to do a certain number of jobs per state. that setting up of just per statement, it's easy for us to verify that. If you say you are going to pay farmers when they bring their produce, you are going to give them a world indexing price for rice. I mean, many of us know that the reason why the cassava project failed was because after encouraging people to plant cassava, and they planted cassava, nobody paid for the cassava. And so people stop planting. That's the problem. But if you give an indexing price, if government does, and in Thailand, I know many of us know what happened in Thailand with their rice, they simply ensured that they paid a price to the rice farmer. Now Thailand has far too much rice, so the rice is just running out. And that's what all countries do. They intervene, especially in agriculture. I don't know any country that doesn't subsidize agriculture. We've got to subsidize it properly. And we think that the way to do it is to guarantee a payment for the produce so that the farmer is committed to farming and knows that he will earn a living so long as he produces products. So for me, I think that that's by and large, that's my my take on what we're experiencing and what we're going through. And I'd like to say to all of you that we need to do something. We need to get involved. We need to address the issues that there are, not just from a social activist point of view, but also from taking a side. I know that, and there are many who may not necessarily agree, but I believe that we have to take a side. And we have to pitch our resources around that side to make it work. That's my little contribution. Thank you very much.